Nailed it.
Hey, I'm Bob.
I'm Jake.
Welcome back to Nailed It, the podcast. Here we are deep into episode 3, season 2.
Yeah.
I said we're in here deep. We just started. Yeah, well, that's it, everybody. There's a full, long episode. Have a good night.
I like that we split this into seasons because in my old podcast I used to do, we never split it into seasons, and I had to remember episode 12 and 13 and 14, and I'd get lost so many times. And in a couple episodes, I'm pretty sure we must have had like 3 episode 7s because I kept forgetting.
7's a lucky number. No, I mean, we'll get this confused too. Don't worry about that.
Oh, absolutely.
We just don't have enough episodes to worry about it yet. So this week, we're going to continue with our newfangled process, top 5 and stuff, and just cool stuff we're going to do. But as always, what have you been up to?
Quite a bit actually within recent couple days and weeks as well. Newly announced as of, I think it was announced yesterday, being March 12th was yesterday. It will be April 12th at Love Drafts Brewing Company in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. We will be, as Listexia, making our debut show for the Lyndhurst EP release party, alongside our friends in I almost said nailed it. Our friends in Lyndhurst, Lives Lost, Dragon Fruit, and The Borderline. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's gonna be a fun show.
That's cool, man. You've been working on that for a while now, and good to see you guys finally got a chance to get out there. Although, I mean, you were gonna do that this year anyway. But
yeah,
getting something a little sooner with a cool show like that too. Surprise, surprise! I happen to be off that night, so I will be making an appearance, I believe.
Oh boy.
Funny thing is, we discussed last time we had time to sit down with Ed that when they were supposed to do their EP release was in January, we were going to go live, interview them, and it didn't happen. Thankfully, that turned out I ended up playing a show that night and I couldn't have gone anyway.
Yeah.
But maybe we can make that happen again this time.
I didn't even think of that at first, but yeah, since I'll be there already, and
so maybe we'll work that out. We'll have to touch bases with our friend Edward.
Yeah.
The Dirty 30 Ed.
Yeah, Dirty 30 Ed. I like that.
So, I got a pretty busy just this month and going into April, as always.
Yep.
And not to be nailed, it also has coming up, we're taking a trip.
We are on a road trip.
Yeah, April 6th, we're going up to Binghamton, New York to do a benefit for my little sister, Patty. So, and I would like to say right here on the hot mic that I am very appreciative of you guys taking that trip. I mean, that's 4 hours away to play a benefit at 12:30 in the afternoon. I mean, it's a big thing for you that you guys said yes, and not that I didn't think you would, but you didn't have to. So I definitely appreciate it. I'd have gone and played alone if that's what it would have taken. But
right.
I'm glad you guys can go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a fun show. I'm always down to do benefits. I've done benefits before, and I like being able to at least contribute my part to it.
Well, that's the beauty of being a musician. If you can't contribute anything else, you can always contribute time and performance. And I've done so many benefits for people I didn't even know.
Oh yeah,
and friends that I did, but this is obviously is a little different. So
right,
I'm really I'm glad we're going to be able to do something. She goes in for her actual surgery the following Wednesday, so this will really be the last big
hurrah
thing she gets to do before the surgery, where unfortunately she's going to lose her voice box. So,
right.
You can bet hell or high water I'm going to get her up to sing a song with me.
Absolutely.
Like every other band that's going to be there probably wants her to do, but we're going to do that one way or the other that day, whether she knows it or not. So, but
she'll know now.
She sure will. That's assuming she listens to this. I mean, she's very busy.
And to kind of segue into our topic for today, we are celebrating, in a sense, the 1 year anniversary of the show.
Yes. Was it the 8th, 10th?
I think it was the 8th.
The 8th last year, May 8th. March 8th, 2023. We actually published our first episode, so that's we're actually. I guess this is our 1 year anniversary episode as well.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. And we left out all that stuff in March. In 2 weeks from tomorrow, we are at the CPMAs.
Yeah.
So the awards are coming up. Will we win? Won't we? Who knows? Tune in next time.
Same Nailed It time, same Nailed It channel.
Indeed. Next time we'll be talking about win, loss, or, utter disappointment, whatever. But yeah, that's definitely coming. That's coming on the 28th. So we got a lot going on. I mean, between the two of us and our band stuff, this is probably the busiest Nailed It's been as a full band in a while.
Since I've been in the band.
And then we probably won't play again until
we'll have a whole
December.
5 months off.
But that's okay. It's I mean, when we can get in, we're both pretty busy. So
yeah. So with that said, with celebrating the 1 year anniversary of our podcast, we thought we would do our top 5 episode of top 5 podcasts that we both listen to.
Right.
In a sense, I'm trying to think of how we rank. Like, how would you have ranked your top 5? Like, what you listen to more of, or like.
I based it off of what I listen to more of and what I enjoy the most of those. What if I were to take those top 5 and then go, well, which one's the only one I could listen to and never listen to the rest of them?
Okay.
And pare it down from there. So I have a number 1 that would be my go-to no matter what, and then they go down to 5, where all ones I would continue to listen to, but if I had to place them in what's more important to hear in a worst case life or death scenario,
right?
That's how I ranked them. Not that I think one's better than the other per se, as much as there's stuff about the way I have them listed that I enjoy more about them. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I can agree with that.
I mean, I guess podcasting. It's not like when we did our top 5 covers, where you can say, we discussed there. Well, what do we think makes a good cover, or how a cover. I think podcasting is too broad of a term, because you can literally find a podcast for anything you like.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes you find a podcast you weren't even intending, as is at least one on my list, I wasn't intending to listen to, or wasn't seeking out.
Right.
And next thing I know, I'm listening to it on a weekly basis. So,
yeah.
That's not something I don't think you can quantify. What comes down to podcasting, is it good, and does it have a topic that I care about?
Right.
Because there's plenty of podcasts about topics I care about that are the hosts are just uninteresting to me. It's not a knock on them. There's something about their delivery. Or I've tried different ones I can't finish. I've tried even like the audio, almost like audiobook basically podcasts they have, where they're like serialized stuff, and it's just
it's hard to get through.
I don't want to listen to a cast read a script to me, and that's not what I enjoy about podcasts. I enjoy good guests or good topics, or hey, what's new about this thing I like that these guys I like to hear talk about it say.
Right.
And that's basically what it comes down to, and that's what I would hope people get out of ours.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because I've gone through some podcasts. I couldn't name you the exact titles, but like, for example, I went through one that ran through the Dark Phoenix saga.
Oh yeah, X-Men, yeah.
So it was them just basically audio booking the story, and a cast reading the book. It's not the same for me.
I actually tried one of those X-Men ones recently. I was like, oh, it's a full cast thing, and it's Marvel licensed. And I got, I think, I don't know, 10 minutes into it, I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was the original like X-Men #1 like story. They were just I can watch a movie or find it animated. I'll go read it like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't that kind of stuff. I want my podcast almost to be like talk shows.
Right.
I want to hear what the guest has to say, or hear what the hosts are doing, where they've been, what they watched, whatever. I mean, that's my kind of podcast. So there's all ways you can look at it, and everybody has a different thing. But for me, that's what's going to draw me into something new.
Right.
And a lot of times I'll get recommendations through listening to those other podcasts.
Yeah.
Like they'll mention, oh, I was on this, person's podcast this weekend. You should check them out. And I have. And I'm like, oh, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Or the hosts have different podcasts they do, and I check out other things. So it's led me to other things, because, I mean, podcasting obviously blew up because of COVID and people being stuck at home.
Yep.
But they were a thing before that, and I just never was into it.
Yeah.
I just wasn't listening to the right ones.
Right. Understandable. So, I guess with that said, we start with number 5 and go to number 1.
Sounds good. You have any honorable mentions before we get to that? I mean, I know you were struggling to get to 5 because you don't listen a lot.
Yeah, I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts other than like my select few. But some of the ones that I can really kind of just give honorable mentions to are like a lot of the Kevin Smith podcasts, like Smodcast. I would like though to start listening to his new one. Can't think of the name of it, but it's him and Harley.
Yeah, he talks about that a good bit. I don't branch out too much from a couple of his directly, only because I just don't have time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you could have a whole episode on just stuff that Kevin Smith does in podcasting. The guy's like a legend at it. But
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
I get that.
Yeah. Like I said, like we both said, I don't listen to podcasts a whole lot, so honorable mentions are kind of few and far in between.
Fair enough.
Honorable mentions for yourself?
Well, one in particular isn't one I listen to on the regular on my own, but I listen to it whenever I'm with my wife. Another one I realized there's like a genre of for everything in podcasting. My wife is really intrigued in like murder stuff, like murder mysteries and
Right.
like crimes and Dateline type stuff.
Yeah.
And there was originally a podcast called My Favorite Murder. She was told
Oh,
to talk
yeah.
about. And that's not really the mention, although it's the first one I heard she'd listen to. Is these two women, going over these stories, and it was interesting, but it was an entire backlog, and I'd hear it whenever I got in the car, her car. Okay, I don't mind listening to stuff. I wouldn't seek it out. I'm not going to listen to it in my car, but
Right.
she had moved on. The one I do want to mention is one called Morbid.
Okay.
That's basically the same premise, but I believe the one girl, and I can't think of their names, their first names, but the one woman is a cosmetologist, which is my wife, and one's a mortician's assistant or a mortician or something, does autopsies or not autopsies, but I think she gets bodies ready for funerals.
Right.
They are super entertaining to listen to, and the way they tell these stories about these serial killers or weird people or just fucked up stuff is really entertaining. So there's never a point where I get in the car, I'm like, oh, are we listening to this again? I'm like, oh, what's this episode about?
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, we were listening to one on a trip to a show where we had a nice longer drive, and it was one of the most depraved things I'd ever heard. And it was about a guy from the 70s.
Yeah.
Like a mass serial killer, like tons of bodies, ones that they never even found that he says he did.
Yeah.
And it was he was just an awful human being. And I got done. I'm like, we have to listen to some like fun music or nothing at all. Like I don't let stuff get me down. You're like, the subject matter was so fucking dark. I was like,
I need some happy shit.
Like, can we just put like, I don't know, like kids songs on or something, like the Barney theme, something. I need something that is not this awful. And even she was like, yeah, this is maybe the worst I've ever heard, which led us to wonder why I had never heard about this guy before.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten his name, but it was bad. Anyway, point being is that's one that pops up to me because it's something that I realized why it works for other people and I enjoy it, but wouldn't seek it out. It's not a top 10. That will not show up in my playlist of podcasts on Spotify. Right. But it would show up on hers. I want to. Another one that I'd point out is another one of Kevin Smith's, the Hollywood Babylon. He does with Ralph Garman. I really enjoy that. They're pretty few and far between. In fact, I might be down an episode right now. But it's a great listen to, but it doesn't crack my top 10. It just or top 5. Sorry, it just is. Oh, there's a new episode, and I've listened to all the other ones. I need something to listen to on the next episode of whatever one I'm listening to comes out. And I'm always enjoyable. It's usually only a half hour long, very quick.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good one for me. So that's two that pop out that didn't make my top 5, but are definitely worth checking out if people are looking for other things.
Yeah.
What do you got for number 5?
Number 5, I'm starting off with Two Bears, One Cave, the Burt Kreischer and Tom Segura show.
I was going to say, I know that name, and I'm not sure why I can't place it, but now I got it. We're good.
Two Bears, One Cave. I started listening to them very just randomly. I had seen clips of it on TikTok and stuff, which is gonna be my story for a few of these on my list. But I had seen so many clips on TikTok of these two, and I knew them each individually as stand-up comedians and thought they were both really funny.
Right.
But once I started seeing how they interact on this show, it seemed hilarious. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And they did an episode with Kevin Smith. So I listened to that. That was like one of the first episodes I listened to. I was in my car laughing so hard I was crying to some of the stuff they were talking about. And so from then on, I just started listening more and more. And if it's one of those shows that, like, if I need a good laugh or something to kind of just brighten the mood,
right,
I'll listen to that. And just hearing them go back and forth is so entertaining to me.
That's a good thing. It's good to get positive vibes and not murder vibes. So see, I could have went to their podcast then and got myself brightened up.
Yeah, that's definitely like, and even though it's at the bottom of my list, It's not to say like, oh, it's my least favorite. It's definitely one that I would recommend listening to. Like if you, like I said, if you need a good laugh or just want to hear just two dudes that act like they hate each other, but they really do, like they're just like best buds. Really good show to check out.
Right. I need to backtrack for a second. I did forget one of the major honorable mentions because this is one I dive deep into when I got into podcast listening more. I got to do there's a big thing with rewatch podcasts for episode TVs.
Okay.
There was a lot of that with COVID because a lot of the stars and the shows and other people were home. They'd get together and they could rewatch the show on. One particular, this isn't the honorable, but one of them was the guys from Smallville.
Oh, okay. This is a different one.
Tom Welling and oh my goodness, Michael Rosenbaum. So
Yeah,
Lex
yeah.
and Clark, they decided to rewatch Smallville from episode 1. They've remained friends all these years and do a podcast about each episode.
Right.
And I listened to a few of those, but that wasn't the first one. The first one was a show called Get Into Gate. In the late 90s and early 2000s, there's a huge show. It was a huge sci-fi show. It ran for 10 years and had 2 spin-offs and called Stargate from an old movie in the 90s. Yeah. And you either liked it or you didn't. I loved it because it had Richard Dean Anderson in it, who was MacGyver when I was a kid. And I loved the movie. The movie originally had Kurt Russell in that role.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a one-off movie, and it had dealt with, like, ancient Egypt, but aliens. And it hit every ticked every sci-fi box I liked. So when they made a show, I was like, this is great.
Right.
And I followed it for years, and I got away from it.
Yeah.
Well, there was these Australian boys who have a podcast network, and they still talk. It's called Get Into Geek is their overall podcast show banner. And they talk about whatever, DC Universe or Marvel, whatever they want to talk to this week, Star Wars.
Right.
But they decided one of their friends had never watched Stargate, ever seen it. He was more the jock of their friends. And
right.
The rest of them, when we were kids, loved it. They decided to rewatch this with this guy Reese, making him the new guy. He'd watch the episode. They'd get together and talk about it.
Yeah.
They got. Last I checked, they kind of stopped doing them. They'd gotten into somewhere into season. I want to say they're in season 9 out of 10, but Reese had moved, so he couldn't be there. It got weird. But those guys, they had such a backlog because they'd been doing it for years. So I got to go back to episode 1. And just run up till I got up to current.
Yeah.
And that really got me into that rewatch podcast thing and got me to understand what the dynamic is with guys. Most of the podcast listeners are some sort of celebrity.
Yeah.
Doing interviews with people, or this is just a bunch of guys who have history as friends and love this genre and this show. Some people think it was just a niche show, and it wasn't. I mean, it ran for 10 friggin' years.
Yeah.
But it showed me how you can get a group of friends in a room and have a chemistry that works, talking about what you like or whatever's going on. Kind of a lot of the way we do stuff. We that showed me how podcasts can work, and they don't have to be some slick production by some guy who's been in the business for 40 years. So
right.
I felt like if I don't talk about that when we're talking about our favorite podcasts, I mean, that I might be the only one of anyone who listens to our podcast even cares or knows about that show.
Right.
But it was a big deal for me for a long time, and it was cool to be able to revisit it in that way.
Right.
So, getting into where my 5 would be.
Yeah.
My 5 is going to be a little weird because it's a fairly new podcast as of the beginning of this year, and it is a local guy that we know. Our good friend Dave Gates, his solo musician podcast. I'm not saying this because I think Dave's a great entertainer, and I've spoken about this. I think his voice on air, if you will, is like the most self-help guru, even temper. Just, man, he could do self-help books or just talk you to sleep in a good way. Like,
oh yeah,
the guy's just got a voice for radio.
Right.
In fact, I just found out this week he's going to start being on the radio.
Sweet.
Part-time. But his podcast, he decided to do a podcast. He had done one years ago before he was in music, and you can go to his podcast, the Soul Musician Podcast, to get his story. He's got an amazing story why he's in like a magical Hollywood type story, why he plays music for a living only a couple years in. But his whole story is interesting, and he does tell it over a couple different episodes. But when I met him, he was just a guy. He was just doing a podcast on his own, interviewing people. He was just a guy who was out at shows and knew everybody.
Yeah.
Long before I even knew he was able to play or sing or did as a kid or any of that.
Yeah.
But each week it's about what he does. It's almost informative for guys who do their own shows. One week might be, well, how do you get gigs, or what's the best way to present yourself in, website form or social media, or, hey, should you drink at shows or shouldn't you? Do you take tips? Don't you? Just all these little things like, and he's doing that based on a guy who does it now for a living. So this is what worked for him and what didn't. And then sometimes he does a little thing with his podcast where he has a weekly episode he's been doing since he started it, which is insane. In fact, he has taken me to task on the fact that he loves our podcast and wishes we did it more. I'm like, I can't get together once a week. We don't have lives like that.
Right.
Get once a month is pretty good. But then he does a second episode because he called Thursday Thoughts, where it's not necessarily about anything about music. It's just about, hey, I was doing this. One episode, I saw the street sign, made me think of something when I was a child, and he tells this childhood story.
Yeah.
Just maybe 20 minutes. Like, he just pops in. He really understands sometimes the time constraints of podcasts. Like, you and I have joked for over a year now. Some of our podcasts get a little long, but we're talking.
Yeah.
And as a caveat, I'm listening to his current episode, which he finally got a guest on, which, sidebar, I will also be a guest on his podcast next month. And he will be then a guest on our pod. So
yes,
we'll do a little switcheroo, switchy changey.
Some content swap.
That just sounded dirty. But his current episode is over 2.5 hours long because it's his first guest and there's stories to tell. So it can happen. But he definitely just is getting it right from the bat. And I recommend anybody who does their own shows or books themselves or just wants to hear what it's like for a guy who does this for a living and what he did to change his life to get there. Yeah. It's definitely worth it. And most of them, again, half hour, 40 minutes, maybe they're really short trips. Definitely check it out. So that's my number 5.
Yeah. So then moving into number 4, following the suit, I guess, with the murder podcasts or the darker side of podcasts.
Ooh.
Is a podcast called Cult Leader.
Oh boy.
I was introduced to this show a couple years back, and it's another one of those podcasts of going over serial killers, cults, and a lot of various darker topics, but hosted by this guy and girl that are phenomenal. Their chemistry is hilarious. But it's a very interesting one because it's not always just like here's this guy and here's his backstory and this is how many people he killed. Sometimes it's like there was a whole episode dedicated to body farms and the origin of body farms.
Oh yeah, so it's got almost a technical tell the story aspect.
Yeah, and I like ones like that because I feel like I'm not just learning about how screwed up one person was. It's, hey, here's a really interesting thing, and I say interesting of like, wow, that's kind of crazy. For instance, the body farms thing. Like I listened to that episode coming down to the campground actually.
Oh, going out to the boonies talking about body farms. Cool.
And learning these different things and the origins of just these random occurrences or things that had happened in history. Still waiting to find a Jim Jones episode though.
It'll come.
But yeah, the overall chemistry between the two hosts, phenomenal. I also very appreciate when they are talking to the one co-host's dog.
Oh, okay.
Named Hot Dog.
I'll bet he's a dachshund.
But yeah, for me, Cult Leader is a solid number 4 for me.
Sounds interesting, and I like that because that's you. I think we're going to find back and forth here things that you and I don't, we don't cross over in what we listen to. So now again, there's a way to discover something else. Yeah, so, excellent. So it gets us to number 3, I guess, huh?
Yes.
Well, number 3 for me is.
Oh no, number 4 for you.
Oh, number 4 for me. Yeah. Oh, it's because I jumped ahead. I would jump back talking about getting a geek. Number 4 for me is one that was recommended to me by a friend. Hey, check this out. I think you'll enjoy this. It's called the Confused Breakfast Podcast. What is it? A couple of guys, 3 guys who I assume, judging by, I've never really looked into it. I assume they're all in their early 30s-ish. They seem from the way they discuss things. Right. And the ages they say they were in like the 90s and stuff and 80s. They will look at their whole synopsis, basically. They look at a movie they loved as a kid through a modern lens. Okay. But before they do that, they'll review it on a nostalgia basis. Okay. Then they'll break down the movie. and they go like, who directed it, who cinematography, who are the actors. Then they do a beat for beat breakdown, act 1, act 2, and so on. They go through the whole movie, talk about things. They have a couple cool things like the most punchable face and what prop from each movie they'd like to be able to have and keep in real life.
I gotta check
and then
that
at the
show
end,
out.
they do a modern rating and they give it a between the three of them they average it. Then they put it on this list.
Right.
Something could be number 82 or number. So it's interesting because they do a lot. Like the most recent episode I listened to was Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I love that show.
They do stuff that they have a Patreon that people, they say, should we do this movie, that movie? Sometimes they pick them on their own. They did a really good Die Hard episode at Christmas. You know how I feel about Die Hard. We talked about, but I mean, they really got into it and made me. There were points about Die Hard I don't think I ever really considered the way they looked. I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. They have a good rapport with each other and a good chemistry. They just recently did a live show. They're from somewhere, I believe, Ohio maybe or Illinois, but they did a theater thing where they sold tickets. They had a live audience. They did the episode there. That was about Air Force One, which is a great Harrison Ford movie.
Yeah, and
they also do side things they call brunch episodes, Monday brunch.
Okay,
little things where they'll talk about whatever. One episode, for instance, they reviewed Creed's Human Clay album.
Okay,
because it was big when they were kids. They just did a Limp Bizkit Chocolate Starfish review. After that live thing they recorded both things at the live, which is good for the people that bought the tickets. They did what's the best. They do like a tournament, like the March Madness kind of thing. Right. But they'd done it before, like they did the best Tom Hanks movies. Okay. This was the best movie with Harrison Ford, which got off the mark because it was supposed to be Harrison Ford movies, and they started making about what's a better movie, like the audience did. Okay. It wasn't about that. It was about, is this a good movie with Harrison Ford? For instance, they said, I believe Apocalypse Now, Harrison Ford's in it for like 30 seconds. I didn't even know that, and I'm a huge fan. Yeah. Most of the people there didn't know that. Yeah. But they quickly knocked it out like, but that's not a Harrison Ford movie. That's semantics about the episode, but they do cool stuff like that where it's not always just about watching that movie. Right. They have this other stuff they want to talk about, so they talk about it. So I really enjoyed that. At first I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I liked how they talk to each other. It's an old man versus young guy speech thing. Okay. There were certain all the catchphrases you say, let's go and stuff like that. Right. Some of the stuff I just feel like an old man when I hear them, like, stop saying that, you damn kids. But sometimes it's how they say it. Right. I don't know if I can get in this, but I'm glad I stuck through it. Took me an episode or two to really feel out what they were doing, and now every new episode I watch. So right. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I gotta check that one out. That one sounds.
I think you'll enjoy it. And most of the episodes are fairly even time. They get enough time for them to do their thing. They have a very set formula in it. It gets to the movie. They just recently had an episode with a guest on, a comedian that they knew somehow, and it was nice having a fourth guy with this other perspective. That was the Pee-wee. Okay. So there's another guy in there talking about the stuff going on too. Right. So they really get you into some stuff you don't think about because it's guys looking at it from when they were kids and then going, well, I'm an adult with kids now, and why did I watch this, or would I watch this again, or would my kids be into this, or why was this popular then and not now, that kind of thing. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Understandable, yeah. So I guess then moving on to number 3 for me, and I expect an eye roll out of this one, but Newer Heights. Or New Heights, I should say.
No eye roll for New Heights. I have seen many a TikTok clip of the Kelsey Brothers podcast. I'm very interested. I'm interested in every time. I haven't started listening to it. I got close, and then the Super Bowl thing came about, and I just don't have any time for the Kelsey Brothers right now. So I'll revisit it again now that Jason has retired. Yep. Poor Eagles fans.
Yes, thank you, 62.
Thank you, 62, for leaving them in a lurch because Fletcher Cox left the next day. It's fine. You got Saquon Barkley
breakdown from
anyway,
all this.
We're not here for a sports podcast. I definitely, I'm going to get to that because I do enjoy the content I've seen. But I mean,
I discovered that not only because of being an Eagles fan, but seeing clips of it on TikTok and seeing how Travis and Jason interact. Obviously, they have that brotherly banter that they have, and in a sense makes me think of like how my older brother and I talk to each other, just kind of goof around. So hearing how they interact, I'm big on the chemistry between the hosts, as I've said, with Bert
Agreed.
Kreischer and them and so on and so forth. But hearing just some of the arguments that the two of them have and discussions, I hopped on immediately once I started seeing clips from the episode with Jason's wife, Kylie, and hearing the three of them conversate and the jokes and the stories they have to tell, I find so funny and just so entertaining to listen to. And sometimes it's not even about sports, because aside from football and occasionally hockey, I'm not a gigantic sports guy. So it's nice to hear these two, all-star athletes and all-star celebrities, and as a whole, talk about other things other than football.
Then they're genuine too. I think that's what really got me in the clips. They're just genuinely, not only can you tell they're brothers, but they're very honest about whatever topic they're talking about. It doesn't seem like there's any BS with them. They could easily steer away from topics, and what I saw, especially with Travis dating Taylor Swift and everything around that, whenever Jason brings something up, he will answer it. He doesn't dodge it. He doesn't I'm not going to talk about that.
Right.
They're not afraid to go after each other with stories too. And in fact, I think the most recent clip I saw of that was after the Super Bowl. There's a very famous clip of Travis Kelce yelling at his coach and bumping into him.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody lost their minds. And literally, I think they record that podcast like Monday nights.
I think they do,
right after the weekend, after games.
Yep.
And I think they might have recorded that one after the Super Bowl a day or two later. And he went right at him. He's like, I understand why you did it, but that's not okay, and people need to know that it's not okay.
Yeah.
And he explained himself in a way I thought it wasn't him backpedaling or trying to cover up.
Right.
He was heated. He was hot about it. It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he knows that his coach knows it wasn't personal.
It wasn't malicious.
But he needed to explain that, because as far as anybody saw, including me watching the game, if that was any other player, they wouldn't be playing the rest of the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he literally physically bumped his coach.
Yeah.
But he explained himself, and he didn't shy away from it. They went right away. It wasn't 3 weeks later or after his Super Bowl parading or any of that. It was, all right, man, we got to talk about this. So I appreciate that's one example I've seen, just the honesty and the belief that they're going to do their thing.
And like you had said about how genuine they are and just straightforward. They don't cover anything up. And then the lighthearted side of it too. They'll make jokes about each other like brothers would, and they show their love for the game and love for each other as well. Yeah, no, it's definitely a one that's on my list of things that I'm going to probably dive into and start listening to and go back catalog, but just haven't got there yet. But I definitely am not. You got no eye roll for me on that, but I do agree that seems, from what the little bits I've been shown or seen, it definitely seems like a worthwhile podcast to listen to, or as some people do, because they do video. Yeah. Some people watch it straight through. Someday we'll be that technologically fancy that we can put a show up without editing it. I've heard that with that show specifically through a few people now, that some people enjoy it more when they watch it, because sometimes the faces that they make at each other when they talk makes it a lot funnier. However, I find it equally as funny just listening to it. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's their chemistry and the way they host the show together. Yeah, it works or not. But of course, visual medium is always nice. Absolutely, seeing people's facial expressions when they laugh at something or things like that is nice. And it's however you consume your podcast, so be it. Yeah. So New Heights is my number 3. For yourself? My number 3, the aforementioned Michael Rosenbaum, the Lex Luthor of the Smallville TV show, has been doing a podcast called Inside of You for. I believe he's over 300 episodes now. I know he is because Tom Welling was his first guest, and he had him back on several times over the years, but he was his 300th guest. Started out with him, I think, just interviewing his celebrity friends and stuff, doing a podcast. But it turned into this. Not only is he interviewing, but it turned into this real. Every episode almost has this. Gets into this deep talk about people open up to him really well about mental health. Mm-hmm. Celebrities you wouldn't expect. For instance, one that jumped out, Alan Richson, that plays, currently known in the Reacher TV show. Some people don't know. It's a giant mountain of a man. It seems like he's got it all together. Man is a brick house. He talked about how
he got to a low point not that long ago, a few years back, where he almost, if he didn't almost try to kill himself, he was close.
Yeah.
Like he just didn't. He was at that place, and you have to listen to the episode. I'm not going to put his words. It misspoke his words.
I
but
think I had seen a clip of that on TikTok.
But it's that kind of thing with every celebrity gets on there.
Yeah.
He might talk about their past, growing up, what went on, but he'll get to a point where his main guy. So you going to therapy?
Yeah.
Because he does. And he's very open about how much that helped him and how bad his childhood was for a certain aspect. That I think it's kind of helpful for people, maybe for me too, who's not one who. Look, everybody has. I think we've spoken about this on our podcast. Everybody has some sort of issue they should be dealing with. Like somebody should talk to somebody. It's just how it works. None of us are immune to it. Nobody's above it. Just some levels, as we know, are different than others for different people.
Yeah.
And I think it's very good that people can see maybe their favorite star or actor, or it's almost always actors or musicians. My God, he had Keanu Reeves on one episode.
Yeah.
But he had his band on, Dog Star.
Okay.
It wasn't about Keanu Reeves being there. He wasn't asking him Matrix questions or John Wick. It was, how's the band doing?
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves was the most mellow, I'm a bass player kind of guy. Like he wasn't being who you think this star is, because he was there with his bandmates talking about their history and what they go through, and right back to, what do you do to center yourself? Do you talk to anybody? It's almost like a celebrity interview that touches on mental health and what that means to people and what that business could do to them or life in general. And I went from like, oh man, he's got the guys from Supernatural on. I got to hear what Jensen Ackles has to say about being on The Boys.
Right.
And then it was, also being this famous and having this rabid of a fan base, for instance, for that guy because of Supernatural.
Yeah.
Can really affect your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to hear that it's nice to know they're human beings. I mean,
Right.
I know that. Everybody should know that. I mean, there's people that don't think about him that way. You think of him as a character.
Right.
Oh, he's that guy. Well, he's not that guy. He played that guy.
Right.
And it's nice to know they go through the same shit we do just because they're on TV or in movies.
Absolutely.
So, and I look forward to that. And I'm not saying I watched every episode by any means. There's some I'm like, maybe if I go back to it, I'll check that one out. But and that's why it's not higher on my list.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes he has guests on that I'm not overly interested to. Now I've gone back and listened to episodes I skipped because of that. I'm like, oh, this was a good episode.
Yeah.
Or I catch like a TikTok clip he puts up from that episode. I'm like, man, that sounded like it was a great conversation. I don't really even know who this person is.
Yep.
So that's definitely why it falls where it does, because it's not something I will immediately listen to every time.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have to check that one out. That one sounds really cool.
You could pick through and go, oh, I like that actor, or I remember that show he was on. I'm going to listen to that episode, and that could draw you in other things, I think. So it's cool. That's cool too.
I've done that with a few other podcasts. I guess for like a backpedal a little bit to an honorable mention, one I used to listen to, but not as much anymore. But Talk is Jericho, which was Chris Jericho's podcast. I listened to that heavily, I'd say back in 2016, 2017. And I had seen he did an episode with Gene Simmons, and then he did an episode with Paul Stanley because he's a big Kiss guy, as am I. And so I listened to that for a little bit and got into that, but recently not as much. But yeah, little honorable mention back there. It was Talk is Jericho. But I guess moving on to number 2 for me, which it's a little bit of a random one, but one that I listen to every Monday when the episodes come out is a podcast called Predators I've Caught, and it's hosted by Chris Hansen.
I'm Chris Hansen. Why don't you have a seat over there?
When let's see, God, that's got to be now going on 3 years, 2-3 years ago now. I used to host a podcast called To Cap It Off, and it was me and a buddy of mine. We used to do a podcast about the To Catch a Predator show, where every episode we would cover a different predator in each episode. But we then realized that Chris Hansen was doing the exact same thing, where every episode is him talking about a particular predator from one of the investigations that they had done through all of
Oh, okay.
To Catch a Predator, as well as some of his later like YouTube shows. He did one called Hansen versus Predator. He now has a new one called Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, and they're all the same concept. You know, a watchdog team chatting online with a potential predator and then busting them. But very similar to like Cult Leader and learning this kind of stuff, and much like people who listen to the murder podcasts, hearing how some of these people are, and just hearing how the Watchdog group got involved and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff as well, because I like hearing how they'd get the houses for these investigations and working with the police departments in each county and things like that. I find that really interesting, and it's always just him. It's just Chris.
I've always been a sucker for behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, me
Even
too.
when I was a kid, when I was into like, you know, sci-fi shows like Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, you know, anything I was into, I latched onto, and then I wanted to find. Back in the day, you could find like technical manuals about how if the stuff like that. I was always into that. So whenever I get into real world situations like that, where they're telling you, like even like I can watch something that tells you how a TV show is made.
Yeah.
Like, even though I really enjoy the TV show, even if it's a reality show and not, you know, an actual fictionalized show, like seeing how where the cameras go. So as I get older, I get more and more interested in how the inner workings of film. That Get into Stargate podcast, they would go into like, well, that shot was weird. Some of the guys were film school guys.
Yep.
I'd start looking at cuts when I'd see reruns of that show. Now other shows, I'm like, that was a terrible. I'm looking at the filmmaking now.
Yeah.
Like I ever made a film or something. Like it matters. Like I ever will. But who knows? Time for everything. But I find that kind of stuff. I think because when I was a kid, I wanted to know everything about in world.
Right.
Like I wanted to know. Oh my God. Well, how's that phaser work? And
Yeah.
how's that built? And is there schematics for it? And how do they build the ships or whatever it was? You know.
Yeah.
How did Indiana Jones? Where did he get that bullwhip? You know.
Right.
Whereas as an adult, it becomes, well, how did they afford the budget for this? Like, where did they film that? Same thing is like, you know, where did they get the house from? Who contacted them about this possible predator? Like, that's the kind of stuff I would get into. So that might be something that would be interesting to me.
Discovering that podcast through the one I used to host was really cool. Because me and my co-host from that show, we were, you know, getting some guests on that were involved with the community that was involved with the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Like there's a guy, his name's Joey. He is a colleague of Chris Hansen's and is basically like Chris Hansen's info guy. And he got in touch with us, so we did an episode with him. And unfortunately, it never came to fruition because of technical issues and just scheduling conflicts. We were going to have an episode with one of the decoys. We had gotten in touch with one of the decoys that was involved with a few of the investigations. And she was super busy with her schedule as well as we were super busy with our schedules. So unfortunately, never came to fruition. And then the show kind of died off and nothing ever really came of it,
right?
Unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
But, yeah. Bringing it back, number 2 for me is Predators I've Caught with Chris Hansen.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, my number 2 is one that I only just recently, again, maybe in the last 6 months, discovered, and now I'm just devouring it. Is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. We've discussed this, you and I. I've told you about a couple episodes. This is another one that I'd heard through a friend of mine. Shout out to Sumo for telling me about this and Confused Breakfast podcast. He's like, look, man, you got to check this out. I was always a friend. Wish. I was always a fan of Conan O'Brien. I loved his show back in the day. Like, he was one of the ones he was so quirky and off kilter, and he wasn't Carson and Leno and those guys, all those guys that had a mold for late night and Letterman. He was this weird dude that was a writer, and somehow they put him on camera. Even he says, like, I don't know, I'm a 6'4", you know, redhead, weird-looking pasty guy. They put me on TV, and he was on TV for 27 years.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that because I love his humor, always did.
Oh, yeah.
I love his interviewing style. But Now he's in a room with Sona, who used to be his assistant for years and became basically his partner in this and has her own thing.
Yep.
And this guy Matt, who is I think is kind of the engineer, became a host kind of thing. Now that's a polished podcast. When I was talking about production values.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Team Coco got it going on. You can tell, but
that needs to be on a shirt. Team Coco got it going on. I can't even say it right.
I love the idea that they took Conan O'Brien, even when he was on cable. He could do kind of what he wants. They put him in a room where he has no constraints. He wants to swear, he swears. He wants to make some weird sex joke, he can do that.
Yeah,
and he does. And he has to be reined in sometime. He just goes off on tangents with these jokes, these little skits in his head. But he gets guests on, and it's just so refreshing. Like Adam Sandler was just on. Him and Sandler have been friends since the 80s.
Oh, I gotta listen to that one. I love Adam Sandler.
And then he does occasional where he knows. Their little side episodes called Conan O'Brien Needs a Fan.
Okay.
You can submit to be on this and show. I guess I had never looked at what I should have went on the website, looked at the criteria. But I assume you submit why you should be a fan, how you long. There's probably questions.
Right.
And then he zooms in with these people.
Huh.
He's talked to people from New Zealand and England and just people here in the States who zoom in and talk about what they do. I think it has a lot to do with a lot of them, their professions or something kind of not kooky, that's wrong, but unique.
Right.
But they're also big fans of I watched you when I was in college, and they talk, and it's usually maybe a 20-minute episode. But he basically gets on a Zoom call with these people who are just his friends or his fans.
Yeah.
Because they typed in and said, I would love to sit down with Conan one time, and they get to do that. And then the next week, some big celebrity interview again.
I think that needs to be a goal for us. Is to
have someone want to zoom in with us. Let's get
for us to get on Conan's show.
Okay. Oh shit! I thought you were Nailed It podcast needs a fan. We really do. But that really just the way he does things, and occasionally there'll be an episode just him and Sona and Matt because maybe they didn't have a guest or they just want to do a thing.
Yeah.
They did some weird like Halloween thing with one of the crew was kidnapped and they got like Saw style videos sent in and stuff. It was like this all scripted thing, just stuff they just did for fun.
Yeah.
But the three of them, nobody knew who the killer or kidnapper was.
Right.
So they had to figure out from their staff. It just has a lot of things, but I mean the basis of it is just so fun to listen to. And if you want to get caught into it, if there's one episode to watch, it's the Harrison Ford episode.
Knew you were gonna
and
say
that maybe only works for people of a certain age, my age, whatever, that really like Harrison Ford or understand him. But if you listen to that and don't want to keep listening to at least that episode, maybe check out one of the other ones, then that's not your podcast. I highly recommend the first 5 minutes of the Harrison Ford episode is enough to make you, I don't know, piss your pants laughing if you know how Harrison Ford is. So definitely, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend is definitely in my number 2. Real close to being my number 1, honestly.
Yeah. I got to listen to that one. I've listened to one episode of the Coco episode. Or the Coco show, and it was the Nirvana episode.
Oh yeah, when he had Dave and Chris and the producer on.
Yeah.
Excellent. I will say that you brought that up because it's not always just him in the studio. Sometimes he goes places, which he did there. He did an episode where he interviewed President Biden.
Yeah.
In the Oval Office. Well, not in the office, but at the White House.
Right.
He just went. Conan O'Brien's a huge history buff.
Yeah.
So for him, it was the idea that he's gotten a few chances to sit with sitting presidents or ex-presidents and interview them or have them on his show.
Yep.
So he got to go do this. And look, we're not going to ever get political on the show. You love him or hate him or don't. He's the president either way.
Yeah.
So I listened to the episode, and he wasn't talking about policies or politics now that he's the president. He was telling stories about when he was a senator, when he was a vice president, his upbringing. Conan sat down and got the president of the United States without some guy writing him a script to sit down and just talk from the hip about his life. And no one was sitting there feeding him lines or no teleprompter.
Right.
Or no falling asleep at the mic or whatever they all make fun of him for doing. And it was that kind of thing. And that could have easily been an interview with Trump or whoever.
Right.
He has a way of getting people to just be comfortable and relax. And at the same time, he's not afraid in that episode. You're the president of the United States right now. You're the sitting president, and I get to sit in a room and talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, to Conan being a history guy, you could hear the excitement.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this is a guy who's 60 years old, but, has done all these things, and still you can hear the excitement in his voice doing what he loves. And
right.
That's where that sometimes, to me, is just worth listening to. And you get that in the smaller episodes when they're in their studio interviewing, Cedric the Entertainer or whoever,
Right.
which was a good episode too. Just people that he knows or knows from the business or out trying to. He had a lot of good celebrities on when the strike was going on.
Okay.
Because a lot of them had books and other things they were allowed to talk about.
Right.
So they were in.
Right.
And it really had this. It's just really, really worth listening to if you have drive time or you just listen to podcasts in general. You want to laugh and you want to hear some famous people tell some funny stories that you don't normally hear.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that behind the scenes kind of stuff, like why comedians tell certain types of jokes. Or Adam Sandler was talking about how he opened for Seinfeld when he was younger, and he was known for more dirty jokes, like his albums, and he couldn't tell any of the dirty stuff, and he bombed because people that were coming to see Seinfeld didn't get his jokes because he had to cut the swear words out and the stuff that made him Sandler.
Right.
And he just absolutely bombed because he censored himself younger because he thought he was supposed to.
Right.
Whereas Seinfeld probably wouldn't have cared.
Oh, absolutely.
Stuff like that. So it's very cool.
Yeah. I'll definitely I got to check that episode out.
You should.
I'll do it on the way home. So then I guess moving on to number 1.
Yes, drum roll please.
Number 1 for me is another one I discovered through TikTok. It's a podcast called The Basement Yard. And it's these two guys, Joe Santagato and Frank Alvarez, that primarily started on YouTube making videos, but it's kind of a podcast about just random bullshit. Every episode
sounds like they're stealing our bit. That's our whole first season.
Yeah. It's like there's no set topic, like for instance, it's not a Stargate episode show where it's about one specific thing,
right?
Which I think is what draws me towards that show, because you don't need to have a specific interest in something. They talk about whatever, and I'd say 95% of the time, it's something in the news that is just outrageous, or like, for example, I don't know if you knew about it or have seen memes or anything about it, but like the Drake video that came out, they did a whole thing about that, and it is hilarious. And it's just the two of them cracking jokes, just talking about it. Then one of them will have a disagreement, then they're bickering about it, and it's all in good fun, and it's really funny. Like, that's another one that I would always say, like, if you need a good laugh or just want to hear dudes argue in the nicest way, that is definitely one that I would recommend checking out. And their debates with each other are hilarious. Like, they have a whole debate about what the best Pop-Tart flavor is in one episode. Super random stuff.
That's great, though. That's actually something that's topical to me, so I'm gonna have to listen to that.
It's a very funny show, and like every episode's about an hour long, and so I drive to work. That's my listen to on my way to and from work. So within 2 days I've listened to the first episode.
That's how I judge a lot of mine. It's nice to have one particular that stands out, especially I was talking about the Dave Gates, the Solo Musician podcast.
Yeah.
I usually can get through one of his episodes on the way to work.
Okay.
They're usually 20 minutes to a half hour unless it's a long topic.
Yeah.
So in one day I get through that and then I can start something else. So yeah, I appreciate stuff that has a very good set limit almost, that I know I can listen to. I know when I can listen to it and get it done. I don't have to be sitting on it for days, which my number one sometimes has me taking days to finish.
Well, like especially like when I come down here to record, that's a solid hour for me to give a listen to the newest episode, or a lot of times I'll be a quarter of the way through so I can finish it on the way down here, and then I'll just kind of crank some tunes for the last 5 minutes of my drive here.
That's what I do a lot of times with my shows, my gigs. If there's gigs that my wife doesn't go to or comes late or whatever, a lot of my Ghost Light gigs are 45 minutes to an hour away, almost all of them. So I can get a lot of time in on finishing up an episode or starting a new one. So it's kind of nice. A lot of times on the way home, she's sleeping or just tired. Yeah. So I'll put on. I was listening to Coco. I was listening to Conan this week, or I got confused. I got to finish, and she'll listen to it. And even she said, "Oh, it's funnier than I, thought you, from what you were saying." Well, not everything's for everybody. I get it.
Right.
But it's nice to have a good laugh once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's also nice to know that you can, hey, I can get this done and I don't have to wait to finish it.
Yeah. And like I said, much like all the other podcasts I've mentioned, with the Basement Yard, the interaction with these two it's so genuine because these guys grew up as like childhood best friends, so you can feel that like relationship the two of them have, with the jokes back and forth, like they're cussing each other out, but you can tell it's in the way that a best friend would cuss their other best friend out, kind of like how we do with Dave or we do with Ken. Like it's very much in that vein, and
cool to be kind.
Yeah, cool to be kind. So that is definitely at the top of my list. I always look forward to Monday morning going to work because I can start my new episode, and it works out because Chris Hansen's episodes come out on Mondays. So when I'm done with Basement Yard, I can switch over to Predators I've Caught.
And there it is. It's nice to have a weekly episode to listen to. Maybe we are doing it wrong. Anyway, no, that's the right reason. You have the reasons why that makes your number one. And you know that's going to be something you look forward to. You know it's
absolutely.
on a regular schedule, and you're entertained by it every time. I think that's a perfect number one for a reasoning to be a number one.
It's also a good, what I would call like a good travel podcast. And I what I mean by that is like if you are going to go on a trip that's a couple hours long, like for instance when I went up to Pittsburgh, like the Pittsburgh area, not too terribly long ago, I got through 3.5 episodes, but because of the pacing and the overall, like, if you want to use the term vibe of the show, it makes time fly because it's just like listening to these guys have a conversation if they were right in front of you.
Right.
So you can get through episodes like that. I've backlogged so many episodes because even when I'm caught up, I'll go back and listen to episodes I've never listened to yet because they've been doing this for years now. So I've got quite a few to go back on, but yeah.
That's another thing I like about podcasts too is you can download a podcast and listen to it on your leisure. It's not like watching a show or a movie where you got to sit.
You got to catch the new
watch
episode.
Everything. You can physically be doing other things such as driving, hell, earbuds in at work or whatever,
Yep.
and you can listen to a podcast and still enjoy it while you're being productive. While watching television or movies or whatever, you got to focus on something else. I mean, I know a lot of people just sit on their phones while they're watching TV anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes
So
too.
am I.
But I like to pay attention.
Yeah.
So with a podcast, you have to be listening. You can be listening, but it also does allow you then to do something else.
Right.
Whereas I think it's different with a visual medium, so I like that too. So that's a good criteria for stuff too, I think. But
So yeah,
not that everybody needs a list of this is why you should listen to a podcast. Then go find one you like. That's
right.
What we're doing here, but
right. But yeah, my closing number one is The Basement Yard.
Excellent.
Number one for you.
My number one is a specific podcast out of the multitude that is the Fat Man Beyond podcast. Kevin Smith, his buddy Mark Bernard, and their buddy JC, who is more involved now than it used to be just the background guy whose bar they went to, and now he's part of it. I expect to hear from JC every episode.
Yeah.
In fact, I would love to go to LA and go to Scum and Villainy Cantina just one time. Man, not only did it sound cool when I finally started like following their Instagram and stuff, just a cool space themed bar. They can't say Star Wars themed.
Yeah.
They'll get sued. But that was the podcast. That might be the first podcast I ever listened to. I was like, oh, Kevin Smith has this podcast, and it's about nerdy stuff, comic book stuff,
Yeah.
movies and stuff. And I love to hear Kevin Smith has been doing podcasting longer than anybody I think had. He may
absolutely.
be like the first like legit celebrity podcaster.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was doing like the early 2000s. And nobody even was like, why are you recording your voice for people to listen to?
Yep.
But I knew, I mean, beyond his movies and how much I love his movies, he used to do not stand-up specials.
They were quote-unquote Q&As.
Q&As. It was, even when Kevin Smith, he had several of them. I love to hear that man tell stories.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just in his visual medium of making movies, but like him physically telling a story.
Yeah.
How he made a movie or who he met. The Prince story is the best. when he met Prince when he was working on the Superman Batman thing way back when. And I really got into that because, again, it was, hey, Kev's here, and this is guy Mark. I didn't know nothing about Mark when I started. But that was, again, a pandemic thing. Well, I need something to listen to.
Yep.
And those guys are two of the smartest dudes when it comes to the stuff I like.
Yep.
And they do, what'd you watch? What movie are we reviewing this week? You watch this, you go here. Then it's, hey, what have you been up to? And then it's, hey, we got some news, all news related. Hey, and they do the Q&A, which I really loved.
Yeah.
Where they have people from their audience ask them, hey, if you could have Superman and Batman go on a dinner date with anybody in the world, who would it be? Like weird shit like that. But they sit and think about it. Sometimes their answers are quick, like, Lois Lane and Catwoman, move on.
Right.
But they're like, or Scarlett Johansson. And this is what I tell you, like, just a weird thing. And I think it's just the way it's hearing him, and then I really got to like Mark, and Mark did a lot of episodes when Kevin was busy making his movies. They call him Black Man Beyond.
Yeah.
And he'd interview people. He'd do the show without Kev, basically.
Yeah.
Which is a tall order because people signed on to hear Kevin Smith.
Oh, absolutely.
But now Mark's his star in his own right as far as the genre community is concerned. The guy made a movie, and he's writing all kinds of Star Wars stuff. And
right.
He's been a writer, and just he has a unique perspective. Being a black guy, being a black man, I guess I'm not sure how I'm supposed to say that. An African American gentleman.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the watchdogs are listening. Don't want to offend anyone. He has a unique perspective about a guy who grew up in like the New York, New Jersey area.
Yep.
As a black man, as a nerd.
Yeah.
You don't hear that often, and it's nice sometimes that he can offer. And when Black Panther came out, I was listening then.
Mm-hmm.
My God, to hear that just the pure joy that
Out
he got from that
yeah.
movie that I can't get from that movie.
Right.
Being a white male,
right.
In his 40s, I enjoyed that movie to death.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie, and I understand it was a big deal for black culture and actors, but he got something else entirely out of that.
Yeah.
And to hear that in his voice, like the genuine, but you hear that from Kevin. Kevin's he's a optimist forever.
Oh, absolutely.
He says often, they're like, why are you always talking about how much you love Marvel or love this? Because he's not going to spend time talking about something he doesn't like.
Right.
So it just sounds like he likes everything too much that he talks about because that's what he likes.
Yeah.
Whereas Kevin will be like, I thought this movie was the greatest they've done in all 75 MCU movies.
Yeah.
And Mark will be like, hold up. There was some neat parts, but he's not afraid to say why something was bad.
Right.
They used to joke that he was always negative about every review he gave TV, movies, and he's not.
Right.
He's just very smart and critical, and then the jokes, and they do their tangents where Kevin, when he was smoking weed all the time, he would just go off on stories that he probably told 100 times. Mark always has stories. It's just, I look forward to it. It used to be, because of the pandemic, I mean, it was almost a weekly, every other week episode.
Yeah.
And I went back then. It used to be called Fat Man on Batman years ago.
Well, that's what it was when I got into it.
Kevin doing Batman-related stuff, interviewing people. And, he wrote Batman. He got to do it at least once. And then it morphed into this thing where Mark came in, and then they changed to Fat Man Beyond because it became more than just Batman stuff.
Right.
So, but it definitely covers all aspects of like the geek and nerd culture, and in a way that I love to hear. And sometimes, like their newest episode I just finished yesterday was 2.5 hours. Like, sometimes they're long. And sometimes they're like, hey, you got an hour and 15. We got to get JC has to do something at the bar, or I got to get on a plane. So sometimes they're those long ones that takes me a few days to finish.
Yeah.
Because 20 minutes at a pop going to work, 25 minutes one way.
Yeah.
I'm only getting an eighth of the show done. So, but I am never disappointed by that show. I look forward to it every time it's on. And maybe it's just because I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. That's what drew me in, but it's not what kept me there.
Right.
It's how they present the show, what they do, the structure of that show, and how they might talk for 2 hours about, Deadpool when it comes out, the new Deadpool. And then spend 2 minutes talking about something else.
Yeah.
But the next week, they could talk for 10 minutes on each topic, 20 topics.
Yeah.
They don't just give it a lot of amount. Okay, well, in the next 15 minutes, we're going to speak about this. And this is the time in the episode we talk. They do what they need to, and if it goes long, goes long. If it goes short, so be it. But every time it works, there's not a bad episode. There's not a boring episode.
Right.
And I think that's what keeps me coming back to it. And for the stuff I like and the kind of things I'm into, The only other thing would be music podcasts,
Right.
and I've not yet found one that makes me want to I gotta listen to that every week. There was a
Right.
good one back when Surface was coming out. I think I linked to that Caleb did an interview
Yep.
with a guy, and I realized he did a lot of metal singers and stuff.
Yeah.
Guy does a good podcast, although he was only like 10 episodes in, so he wasn't like this old hat at it.
Right.
But I listened to one or two other ones, and I'm not as invested in this as I was as Caleb, as the Beartooth episode.
Yeah.
So I have yet to find one for as much time as I spend in music.
Yeah.
Haven't found a podcast where I'm like, I got to listen to that music podcast.
Right.
Not like the Confused Breakfast podcast when they do those couple episodes about an album.
Yeah.
If people did that on a weekly basis about albums I liked or didn't like here's an hour we're going to talk about this album from 1974 or 2020.
Right.
Track for track, we're going to go through what do we like about it. Is this a good track back overall? If there was something that did just music like that, I would be down for it. Like we
Right.
did our review of
The
Surface.
Surface, yeah.
But I think even they even had a more precise way of doing that.
Yeah.
And they were picking nostalgic albums to them and stuff. Whatever works. If I could find something like that, it'd probably crack my top 5, but nobody's done it yet.
For music podcasts, I think the closest I've ever really gotten was Talk is Jericho, because he'd bring a lot of musical guests on.
Well, he should.
Like I say, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. He did an episode with Mike Portnoy, the drummer of Dream Theater, and this one stuck in my head because of me being such a big Beatles fan. It was with Mike Portnoy, but they had a discussion that was, if all the Beatles were still around, and they did a reunion show, what would their set list be?
Oh, that's neat.
So they did things like that, and it was super cool to hear, Chris Jericho's opinion versus Portnoy's, and then they would discuss it. I think they had a third guest, but I can't remember offhand. But yeah, things like that, and then he'd bring the drummer from Anthrax. I'm blanking on his name, but he'd bring him in. He'd bring I think he did an episode with Les Claypool and all kinds of other stuff. So music-wise, that's the closest I've gotten with it, and plus Chris Jericho being a musician in and of himself,
Right.
aside from being a wrestler.
Hopefully something will present itself one day. Maybe I should spend more time looking for music stuff. But, hey, maybe that's a whole nother episode. Music podcasts.
Yeah.
Things you like about music. Well, there it is, our top 5 podcasts that we're listening to. We made it through another top 5 list, Jake.
We did. I guess if we want to do a playlist for this one, just maybe branch off an episode of each show.
Yeah. I might be able to hook that up, everybody. I'll get a playlist out of episodes. Jake and I'll talk about episodes we think from each of our. We'll have 10 episodes up there of each of our. What we think would be a reason for you to listen to that podcast. So we'll get that up shortly after this episode airs. I do want to point out. I don't know what fire is going to take off after today, but I did a thing this week.
You did a thing.
What I had done for a long time, I used to joke. Jake and I have joked for a while. Obviously, if you know this show, you know our reverence for Beartooth, for the band. And we joke a lot that is now our religion because Jake and I aren't going to church people. But music is big.
Yeah.
And I had joked one day that I was going to make Jake one of these, I'm sure people have seen them, they call them the 7-day prayer candles, the kind that you buy to anywhere and you put it a site or memorial, let it burn, and they're generally meant to not burn out until they're out.
Right.
And I told him I was going to make him a prayer candle one day just out of joke. And one of the 2 shows he went to recently, one I was at, he happened to get just a cool, heavenly-looking picture of Caleb just standing there, and the white lights were hitting him, and he made him look like he was glowing. And I said, man, that's the picture for the candle if I ever do it. So one day I just got this weird creative streak while I was at work in the afternoon, and I sat down for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and I came up with this. And I put it on a candle, and I was keeping it a secret for Jake because we were supposed to record and we didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
So I had to hold out for the show. So I had it for over a week, and I couldn't say a word about it.
It's killing you.
And I gave it to him at our show last Friday. And as soon as I did that, I posted it on, I posted my own. Well, Jake here will put it on a Beartooth fan club, our fan page. And every other comment was, does he mass produce these? I'll take 2.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, try it. So I opened up an Etsy store a few days ago and 2 days ago, and I had to start making them. I have 4 going out. Jake posted it in there, the link to it. People are hitting it. So apparently I'm selling Beartooth prayer candles. Now, I don't know if that's legal, that's Etsy's problem, not mine. But hey, I'm just doing it out of fun and reverence. I'm not making a fortune on it or anything. I'm pretty much covering my costs.
Right.
So if it comes down to, I'm not making money on this. I'm just doing it because other people seem generally interested in having these. And I'll be honest with you, I think they came out pretty awesome. And I don't usually toot my own horn when it comes to art stuff. Like I do some poster work for the bands and some logo stuff sometimes. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes I'm like, I just phoned that in. But this just came together. And who knows? Maybe I can make little, not motivational. I don't want to keep saying prayer candles. It seems disingenuous. But, belief candles for any of your favorite things. Feel free to hit us up.
Yeah.
Maybe I can come up with a cool design and work people. I'll just start doing stuff, made to order. I think it's a pretty novel idea. And as I said to the people on that fan page and anybody that might listen to this and go check it out, it means a lot to me that I love a band so much who generally seems to have a younger audience than me, a 20-something audience, 30s. I'm the dad in the group but there's not people my age at the shows that don't enjoy it.
Right.
But I don't know anybody of my age that enjoys them as much, besides my wife.
Right.
And then you, who are literally, 22 years younger than me.
Yes.
So it's amazing that I get to share that with all these people who seem to generally be younger people in the group that I can see.
Yeah.
But we can all share the love of this band, and this is this unique thing I did as a joke. A fun joke between us has become, I just shipped one out to Oklahoma,
That's
Colorado,
so cool.
South Carolina, and I forget where the other one is now before they're going out. Like, they're not close by. It's not like people in Lancaster. It's people out of state.
There was one that hit me up separate that's from, like, Altoona. So not horrendously far.
No, but still,
it's
it's. I think it's great that people want to have this, and I hope they enjoy them when they get them. And I just felt like I should say that this is something that's going on. The Etsy shop, I don't have the handle, but it's Den Mother Music, which is my booking company. I wanted something that wasn't nailed. It wasn't
right.
My name, although my name's on it, I guess. So I use that. So if you go to Etsy and look up Den Mother Music, the only thing, or type in Beartooth Prayer Candle, you're going to find my store. And maybe I'll start putting some other things up. Maybe if I ever fix these bogus 3D printers of mine, I'll start making some cool keychains or something I can send on to people. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I wanted to say that before we got done here. So
I'll have to take a picture and show you now where that candle sits. It's starting to look more and more like a shrine. As yours sits there.
That's the prototype one, and it actually got bubbles in it. I didn't stick the label right the first time, and it got bad bubbling in it. So I had to make the second one. It's the one you got.
Yeah.
Which are, again, I've done some rolling changes to make them a little better for everybody, but make sure they're gonna last.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this room has half a shrine of Beartooth in it to begin with.
Yeah, and it's like the prayer candle. The poster I got from the VIP thing, the little vinyl record that I got with it, and then the framed picture of me with the band. It's just growing into this shrine.
That's what happens.
I have to put my below flag up somewhere.
That's what happens, buddy. Well, sometimes it's good to be into shit.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else from you, I think we've covered our top 5. We've got episode 3 in the can. Episode 4 should be our episode with Dave Gates next month.
Yes.
I don't know when that is going to air. I know the interview will be taking place the first 10 days of April. It'll depend when it goes up. And who knows if we have time between that and CPMAs, maybe we'll do an episode talking about.
Maybe like a little mini episode or something.
I do believe maybe we're going to do some live interviews from the CPMAs, or we're going to record some interviews with some people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of local musicians in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have a whole episode of just us talking to people.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a shot. So either way, that's going to be it this week. So once again, I'm Bob.
I'm Jake.
And this has been
Nailed It, the podcast.
Later.
See you. Same Nailed It time, same Nailed It channel.